Welcome to Tales from the Realms. I'm your host, Talus, with my other host here.
I'm David.
And this is a brand new podcast that we're going to be doing about Age of Sigmar. So basically, we were sitting around and decided that, there's all these 40k channels and podcasts and all this, and I just decided, you know what? No one talks about Age of Sigmar. No one talks about, AOS, and it's like I want to get in here and spread some of the AOS love because there's just not enough out there, and truly it is a amazing game system. So I figured, why not for the first video in this channel to be why we think AOS is better than 40k. So yeah, we're definitely not experts when it comes to AOS or anything. We're still relatively new to the scene. We know more than like the average 40k player because we've actually played some games. I have at least 2 armies, working on a third, and I'm going to be joining my first tournament here soon. But I know a decent amount about the lore and whatnot. I've read some of the books, so there's some backstory on my knowledge on the system.
I played a lot of the like the Total War games and stuff like that. So that's a lot of my knowledge on this.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, more limited than his. So he'll be really the driving force behind the lore. So I'll also be learning some stuff from him.
Yeah, we'll probably do some kind of lore type of videos in the future. Just depends on how things go. But yeah, I definitely do have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the old world. I do know a decent amount of the lore for AOS here, but the old world is definitely where I thrive in due to the Total War games that I own. All of them with hundreds of hours in every DLC, so it's kind of a given that way. So, yeah, I think we're probably just going to go ahead and jump into our first topic here with our first subject matter on why we think AOS is just got to be a better game than 40k. And it's like, of course, everyone has their own opinion. I do love 40k. I am forced to play it due to the fact because I wanted to get into AOS from the beginning. But everyone I know is like, oh, let's play 40k AOS. That's fantasy. That's stupid. I don't want to do that. And I'm just like, but dinosaurs, like the lizard folk. it's how could you feel this way, you fools? Skeletons, vampires. And you know what? That will get me into the first topic here. One of the reasons AOS is, I personally believe, is going to be better than 40k is there's just so many more unique factions. Like, it's not like a bunch of different flavors of Space Marine. You have your 20 main Space Marine factions, or 18, whatever. And then you have all of their sub factions, and it's like, yes, there are other things. Okay, you have your Space Marines, you have your elves, your orcs, then you have chaos, and then you have evil Space Marines, and then you have humans, and then other types of humans, and more types of humans, and it's like very limited. But AOS, it's like, yeah, you have your humans and your orcs but you have your elves, you have tree folk, you have dinosaurs, rat people, vampires, as we mentioned, giants, ogres, just all kinds of different factions. It's beautiful. You can totally just like play it in like how you want. It's all just such a variety of different factions that there's really something for everybody, I believe. Even in just like, for instance, like Cities of Sigmar, it's like 3 factions in one, but it's done like well. It's you have humans. I believe it's some form of elves, and I don't know which ones. I think that they might be some form of the dark elves. Honestly, I'm not super familiar with Cities of Sigmar. And then you also have your dwarves, and that's all in one faction, but they could work individually very well as well. Like I've made lists of like just the dwarves before, and it's like, yeah, maybe it's better to run them mixed up a little bit, have some variety, but you could totally run it as one thing, and that's totally fine. Well, Soulblight Gravelords. Some people complain that they're vampires, skeletons, and zombies all in one faction. I don't care. It works. It works for me. Because I know I'm a big vampire person. I know you like the skeletons, David.
Oh, I like it all. That's my main army right there. That's what I love. So I do a good mix of it in my army. So
Yeah, I guess I haven't seen your list fully fleshed out. Mine's just like I said, I haven't fully built it yet, but it's basically just like vampire heroes. Like, I mean, I love the vampire, the skeletons and zombies, but it's basically just like here's a whole bunch of vampires. Moving on.
yeah, I'm also a big fan of the Stormcast Eternals.
Oh yeah, that's
Um,
your main army, or at least that you
at
have
the
right now. Yeah,
moment,
at your
my
moment.
the only army that I have that's like a full army at the moment. Um, no, but I'm also I love their lore, the little I know of it. So, and since I'm in the same boat as him, play a lot of 40K because all the people we know play 40K, and that's just what we got into. I thought it'd just be funny because obviously Ultramarines are the um,
Poster
face
boys.
of 40, yeah, poster boys. I decided since it's the same for Stormcast Eternals, I would paint them like Ultramarines.
Yeah, and that might be a controversial opinion. I know a lot of people don't like, oh, I don't think the Stormcasts are the same as, the Ultramarines are not the poster boys. Yeah, they are. Alright. I admit it. Yes, they are. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, alright? There's truly nothing. Now, into the recent editions, they've really made them not so space marine looking, but they're still the poster boys. Like that doesn't change anything. Like they're still the equivalent of the Ultramarines, but for Age of Sigmar. That is just the truth.
And trust me, they're going to look just like them when I'm done with it.
Yeah, it's truly. I'm excited. They're going to be beautiful, and then everyone is going to hate you for it. But you know what? That's just the better for it.
It's part of the fun.
Exactly. Sometimes you gotta annoy your opponent.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And I just feel like they just there's more detail almost to the models themselves
Oh,
than like like a decent. I would say like your average like model for like a random infantry unit. Like you're gonna have more detail on the fantasy than you would on in the 40K. In some examples, being Stormcast versus Ultramarines, it's like yeah, they're like there's a lot more. So sometimes that can be a turn off to some people, having more detail just being cluttered. But in my opinion, I like that better because arm cool armor look cool.
yeah, exactly. They're a lot more ornate. There's a lot more to it, I guess. It's like, yeah, Space Marines are nice. They're simple. They're easy to paint. But I think, like, especially in the case of Stormcast, is like you have the option to paint them really complicated, but you could also paint them pretty simple too. Like, I think, especially with like some of the leader models, like what's that one you have with the big wings? It's like,
Yindrasa.
yeah, Andrasa, dude, her model is dope. Like the character models for AOS are absolutely crazy. I love the way they look. I love the way they're designed. They are truly like that is a centerpiece. That is something you're going to paint, and you're going to be scared of painting it. Don't get me wrong. Like honestly, it's going to be one of those models where you're like, I don't want to paint this because if I mess this up, yeah, I'm going to be very disappointed. But they're just so beautiful, and for somebody who loves to paint their models, it's so rewarding to look at something like that and being so ornate and just crazy. You just gotta love it. You gotta love it.
I'll say one downside. To be fair, so I gotta give this to 40K. Is some models are very what's a good word for it? I'd say skinny almost. Too skinny.
Yeah, yeah.
Problem with skeletons before.
Have you seen the new Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon model?
I should have one.
The new one.
Maybe.
They just came out with a brand new one. They revealed it because there's a new skeleton box coming out. Did you know about that?
Ooh,
Yeah. Yeah, there's a new skeleton box with some new models. You should definitely look that up. But, like, the Vampire Lord, I'm going to be putting images up for the viewers. But, like, the new Vampire Lord on the Zombie Dragon, it looks so cool. But good luck to anybody who wants to transport that motherfucker. Like that thing is huge. It has like just a massive spear just sticking straight up, and it's like, oh my god, that thing is going to be so easy to break. It's like the skeletons, those things fall apart constantly. Like, people talk about the Necrons being thin and they break all the time, and yes, that's true, but like the AOS skeletons, no, those things like to fall apart.
Shattered, dude.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
But you know what? It's kind of, at least it fits with the theme. A skeleton arm come off. You know what? You go with it. All right. It's a part of the deal. There's skeletons. They're meant to do that.
Gotta find a picture of the new one.
Yeah. I wonder if because the new vampire lord on zombie. Is it?
Here's also the thing. While he looks that up, I also like it how, like, just for example, I know Spearhead does it, but like how on the models, the weapons themselves, like, they just have the same like damage. Like, so like if you had like a spear on a guy that like the weapon says is like an axe, it's the same thing.
Oh yeah, it's all
So
the
something I like has to do with models as well. So you don't really have to like worry about, oh no, did I put the right weapon on it? There's a few like that. For example, the chariot for Stormcast, I know you can either have a bow or a sword, but like that makes sense versus like I have an axe versus like a polearm versus like a pike or something. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it makes it so you don't have to do, like a bunch of, like, if you go to like a big tournament where they don't like allow WYSIWYG or whatever, like you can just have your model. You don't have to magnetize it. It just is what it is. Everyone knows it. You don't have to be confused with proxies or anything. It's just there and simple. Here we go. I found them. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say, like, and trying to transport that dude, whoo, let me tell you, that's not going to be easy. But, oh, is it beautiful.
I'm wondering if the skeletons are gonna be made the same or put together the same way the old ones were, because like I think they look like they're gonna have beefier legs, because that was the big one.
They do.
The legs breaking.
They do look a lot beefier, like with the armor pieces and the cloth and stuff. They look like they're gonna be a lot more sound than the old ones, which is nice.
Yeah, because it was the legs that kept breaking on the old ones.
Yeah.
At least for me.
Fair. Or like even I kind of like with the skeleton on the horse here, his polearm's kind of like, or his axe thing, hammer thing is kind of like down. It's not sticking straight up, so it's not going to snap off. Unlike the vampire lord, who has his whole freaking what's that called again? Jousting stick just sticking up in the air.
Or his hair, just the normal vampire lord, his hair just sticking up.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I know. See, like, that's one of the things I'm talking about. Like, these models are just absolutely gorgeous. Like, yes, 40K has some beautiful models, and the new ones are coming to the same standard as AOS. But like, this is gorgeous. Which is also just a thing. Like, even if you don't play the game, this that's the big thing. A lot of people who get into AOS, like, they call it like a good dad hobby, because you just go and you get your models, you assemble them, you paint them, you put them on a shelf, and you just admire them, and they're great for that.
And like, that's also going along with the dad thing. It's just, at least in my opinion, I'm sure it's not like this all the time, but just being the dad thing, it just seems almost less competitive too. Like you're not gonna go and be like sweaty when you're playing. You're gonna have a good time playing. And I also just like the casualness almost of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, a lot of the AOS players that I've been like spoken with and talked about, they're a lot more casual, a lot more friendly. Like 40K, I mean, like, for instance, there's a reason why they have the meme about that guy, and it's like, shout out to my buddies over on the Bolters and Banter channel who just made a video, but they have a whole video over there about that guy, and it's like everyone always relates Nurgle to him, because it's just, it's like the last tournament I was in. We kind of had a guy like that because he was kind of cheating. I'm pretty sure it was on purpose because I've heard him doing that in the past too, like saying he had scout moves when he wasn't supposed to and having more movement than he was. And it was a casual tournament too. Like this wasn't like a serious tournament. This was a casual tournament, but they were still like cheating and just being like really competitive.
Was there any like reward for winning?
Yeah, there definitely was. It was very like known from the beginning, though. It wasn't like there was a reward. Don't get me wrong. That's probably why he did it. But also at the same time, it was noted as like, hey, this is a casual tournament. You can use proxies. You don't have to be painted. Let's not take this seriously. Let's have a good time. And yeah, but he was still, and it wasn't like crazy. I mean, it was like some store credit, you know. It wasn't like cash or anything. Which, like I said, I get it. Oh no, I don't get it. I mean, I get his mindset on why he would want to cheat, but I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I don't get that, you know.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you don't find that.
Like,
yeah,
I feel like maybe it's just the way I am, but like if I'm like doing something competitively like that, I don't want to cheat. I want to be based off of my skill of how I play, you know. And obviously there's the luck of the dice roll, but like if you're just positioned correctly, you know, like you can roll garbage and like still do decent.
Yeah, it's like when we were playing a game a few weeks back. I was using some dice that I felt because I forgot my dice, so I borrowed some old dice you had, and it felt like they were very cheaty. I was like, I'm getting far more sixes than I've ever gotten in my life, and I feel bad. Like I don't feel good about that because I don't feel like I'm winning, and like I'm just wanting to have a fun game. I don't want to just pummel you into the ground. That's not fun. I want us both to have a good time. It's like when I was doing the tournament, my first tournament the other day. I was losing pretty hard against a lot of my competitive. I had a smile on my face every moment. Every time someone was kicking my ass and doing like an amazing move, I was smiling, congratulating them, and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry I'm doing this to you. I'm like, nah, dude, you deserve that. You kicked my ass, you know? Like, I want you to feel good when you beat me, so then when I'm beating you, I'm allowed to feel good as well, you know? I want to go both ways. But yeah, no, I say definitely with AOS, I find it to be a lot less than that competitive. You know, there's lots of that competitive attitude. You know, like yes, I'm sure there's competitive people, and I just haven't necessarily found them yet.
Yeah, and just like the casualness of it, and honestly, most of the lore is like, it's not always like gonna bring you down. You know.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a ton of fun stuff with the game in itself, and that goes with the lore as well.
Yeah, like for example, one of the Stormcasts, Hamilcar, is I'm currently listening to the audiobook of Hamilcar Bear Eater. They also have an episode with him on Hammer and Bolters, and it really shows that lightheartedness to it. Like yes, there are, don't get me wrong, there's depressing parts about AOS for sure, but it's not going to be like 40k, you know. There's a lot more of that lighthearted humor, and it's a fantasy. It's like Lord of the Rings. There's dark sides, but there's also fun sides to it, you know.
Yeah, like when's second breakfast, you know.
Exactly, second breakfast. I said the closest thing you're going to get to stuff like that in 40k is when you talk about the orcs, but you know.
No, I haven't. So going back to playing, getting into it, I thought Spearhead was pretty dang close to the actual like playing it actually. You know, like the rules weren't that much different. I mean, there's always some differences, but like it's really good to get started into the game. With 40k, I've never played Combat Patrol, and I've never wanted to. So that tells you what I think about their smaller game mode.
Yeah,
I love Spearhead. That's a fun game mode to me.
Yeah, because I have played both. I have played multiple games of Combat Patrol, and I do not like it. I will only ever play it is because I'm showing somebody who is like brand new, like my 10-year-old nephew. You know, I had him play a Combat Patrol match with me just to really get him into it. But it like sucks because like even like when you look at a data sheet on 40k for Combat Patrol, it is just bare bones. They hardly have abilities, if any. Like playing a Custodes, I'm like, oh yeah, they have this ability, right? No, they don't have anything. They have their weapon profile, moving on. Like it's just so yes, you do it to get into the game, but honestly, just play a 500 point or 1,000 point game of normal 40k. You're gonna have a better time. Spearhead, complete opposite. Spearhead is a beautiful system. It's good, and it is what's it called? It's all very. All the spearheads are like competitively the same, essentially. Like I wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't put one above the other. Like I know, like the Gargants is like the worst one. Like pretty much everyone agrees like they're fun, but the Gargants are like the worst spearhead. All the others are pretty well on the same even playing field.
Yeah, I would agree. And I've played many of them. I own like what 7 or 8 spearheads.
Oh yeah,
like 3.5 built at the moment. You know, like I love playing them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna build my my Gloomspike Gits next. I think that'll be fun to play. I heard that wasn't one of the better ones, but it's just also how do you play it, you know? Like there's things, that can make a worse Spearhead better. And then obviously going back when you said that like Combat Patrol was like bare bones, like have you seen the Chaos Demon Combat Patrol?
I know it's just like a bunch of bloodletters. Like,
yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's just like here's a bunch of blood letters. Have fun.
Here's 10 blood letters. Here's a blood master, or what is it? Yeah, I think it's blood master. And then here's 5 dogs. The flesh hounds. That's all you get.
Yeah, like
you might get 3 of the what are they called? The bigger guys. The brass stampede people. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the guys riding the things.
Yeah. So it's got quite a bit to it, but like none of them have any abilities that are like worth anything.
No, not at all. And like also to go with that, like with Spearhead is truly like I said, nobody I know, like not a single person I know who plays 40k is going to say, "Hey, you want to play Combat Patrol?" No one does. But like Spearhead though. If you're like, hey, you want to play a quick game of Spearhead? Yes, absolutely, because yes, it you have basically the same abilities as the full game. A lot of the rules are quite similar, and it's quicker and it's fun. It is truly like they perfected Spearhead so well. I want them to change up Combat Patrol to be like Spearhead. Like honestly, I feel like Combat Patrol is only there just to get like a bundle deal, and even then sometimes they're just not that. That kind of suck. Like I'm pretty sure, what is it, the new I think it was the new God one is like just garbage. It's pretty much like, hey, we got new models, let's get rid of these old ones. Like I
know the Eldari for 40k, theirs was really good. Like price wise, like you're definitely saving money buying that instead of the models.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So like that exactly like goes with that. What I mentioned is it is very much like you are buying this to get a bundle, a budget deal. You're not buying it because like Spearhead. I'm buying Spearhead because I want to actually play Spearhead. Like yeah, I'll get a bundle deal, but I'm good with just playing Spearhead too.
Like I can throw them in my army, but like I am more than like willing to just pull them out and just use them for Spearhead, or just keep a Spearhead separate. Like I'm fine with just getting the other models,
Yeah, and another nice thing about a lot of the whether it's like Spearheads or just how the full game of AOS works is they got rid of allies in this last edition, I think, which like sucks because personally I love allies. Yes, but they do have a ton of regiments of renown, which, as somebody who played the Total War games, I'm very familiar with like the regiments of renowns and stuff. And they are allies. They're just miniature regiments of allies. They're lore friendly. They're good. Like they're fun. They have a lot of variety with them, and each faction has like individual ones that work with the other orders. Since AOS has the 4. The Grand Order, the alliances, the 4 different alliances, and even the with the new ones that came out with for the Grotmis was like Nurgle. They can go with Cities of Sigmar, like the human faction, because you know what, if maybe a little bit of tank going on, you got some Nurgles joining you, and that's fun. You're not gonna have Chaos Demons in an Imperial army in 40k.
Yeah. Well, here's also the thing. Generally, like if you're throwing in Nurglings into your cities of Sigmar, those are some of the most nice things you'll run into that are like monstrous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the lore wise, they're not gonna like they don't go out and just kill. They're just like, oh, I just want to play. You know?
Yeah, they're little guys. They're just little
They're just little
fellas. They're
fellas.
just little dudes. Yeah, or like a lot of them are mercenaries too. Like
yeah.
like the giants, and like they have a new Trog a regiment right now that is also like a mercenary, and like just to bring one like and that's also so nice too. Like if you're running multiple armies and you're starting a brand new army, but maybe you don't have 2k of points, but you really like want to play it, but you have something from one of your other armies, there's a very high likelihood that's going to be in a regiment of renown that you can throw into your army to get that 2k so you can get a game in.
Really? Oh yeah, I was gonna say in the past edition, the last edition, I was allowed to because I had gone on because me and him wanted to play AOS, so I was like, oh, I'm also getting the 40k too. So I'm like, even nobody wants to play AOS, so I'm gonna buy an army that I can use in both. So I chose Chaos Demons, obviously, best choice in my opinion. Um, and I have a mix of Khorne and Nurgle. But in the last edition, I was able to play with Khorne and Nurgle in my army for AOS. They were allies. Nurgle's was allied, but you know it worked.
Yeah,
But not in this one.
no, I said unfortunately you can't now. At least you can get the you throw your Nuglings in there. But I will say one of the nice things about it, which it seems like 40k is going in that direction, is I actually really like that they separate the Chaos Demons, because like when I played against you and you played Khorne the other day, I adore the detachment that they had for it. Like like when we first started, we're like, you put the list together and it was like, there's no wizards. I want to cast spells, which we'll talk about spells here in a moment. Since 40k Psycha is dead, but
Yes.
but like it's like, there's no spells, and it's like that sucks. How are we supposed to cast your you cast your spells if you don't have a wizard? Then we found out your detachment ability is every unit that dies, whether it's on my side of the field, your side of the field, you get blood points that then allow any of your models to cast spells.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, that is just so like that's flavor right there. That is the perfect flavor, and I love that. I love the flavor of all the detachments that I have played in AOS. And honestly, like when you look at it, like if I go through and I look at all of my armies, they have more than one detachment. I'm pretty sure like most of them have like at least like 4 different detachments you can take. Unlike like 40k, the 10th edition's been out and almost over by now, and most factions only had one detachment up until just this last month when Grotmist came out.
Yeah, How much time is in between each new edition for 40k? Was it like 3 years or something?
Yeah, it's about 3 years. I think it's for 40k and AOS, but yeah, it's been 2 years for 10th edition. Like it's
And
about
there's
like 1
nothing,
year.
dude.
Yeah.
And that's the thing also that kind of pissed me off because I'm like, I went with the Chaos Demons. Is that they never got a detachment until now?
Yeah. That entire time you're in the 2 years, it's like you have been using the same freaking detachment, and it's like that,
Which
like,
is not good, by the way.
yeah, and it's like,
bad, but it's not good.
yeah, and there's no variety. Like, at least give us some variety. Like, yes, Grotmist was beautiful, and they gave a lot of variety, but I mean, some of those detachments are amazing. Some of them suck, and you're probably not going to play them anyways. But at least you have variety now, I guess. But like, how hard can it be to, like I said, to make a couple of like at least get two detachments for each faction, like something. Give us some variety. I mean, over the course of 3 years, you don't want to play the same thing over and over and over and over again,
Yeah, especially with having one detachment, there's kind of limits you to playing one play style over and over again, which becomes easier to counter the more people that learn how to play against it. And it's just like, okay, cool. Now my army's falling to the bottom of the list, kind of thing. It's like I'm just never gonna win, which is fine. But it's like I would like that variety of like I can change it up a bit now because I can just play Khorne with the new detachments in 40k. Yeah, I don't know. That's just one of my big beefs with 40k is that not like a lot of the factions and armies I wanted to get into just because I thought they looked cool and they played, whatever. Their abilities were cool. Just only one way to play them though.
Yeah, it really gets tiring, and that's like another thing. Like going back to what you talked about before, magic. The spells are just so flavorful and so fun, and you even have like summons. Like the orcs. I can summon the foot of Gork or Mork, and it's just a big foot that just comes down and just crushes people. And it's like if you've played the Total War game, like that's a spell you could just use in that game, and so to be able to do that on the tabletop is so much fun. And also each faction, they're not just limited to like one like spell casting set. Like it's not normally like it's the lore is what they call it, and you don't just have like one thing of spell casting. You can choose multiple of them, so depending on how you play the game, or you want to mix up your play style, you can choose a different set of magic spells to use.
Yeah, just even more variety. So, and there's also a lot more detachments in AOS as well.
Yeah. So it's truly
variety in each. You can just play a different variety if you want to do the same detachment. You're just like, I want to still play it differently. You can still do that.
Absolutely, yeah. There is so much variety in AOS. Like every time I go to play my army, even with the same detachment, I can change it up. And with whether it's the summons or the spells or the units, and speaking of the units, you got like the centerpiece models, your big like leaders, like 40k. People complain about like Gilliman or the Lion being killed pretty easily by like smaller units, like something that isn't a leader. Like they don't feel like a demigod, they don't feel like a Primarch a lot of the time. AOS, you better believe, like you have literal gods on the battlefield. Like you don't you have a Nagash? Didn't you buy a Nagash model?
I have him, and he's in my closet. I just haven't had time to build him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's, what, 880 points? Like...
He's very expensive.
Yeah.
And he deserves to be that expensive, though. He is one of the more powerful things, like, you can get in the game.
Exactly. Yeah, because, like, you feel that power, it's not like in 40k where you're, like, like my brother, every time he plays his Salamanders, he has an Imperial Knight. It dies every time. It's just not that good. It's a big model. It costs a lot of points, but it just doesn't have that weight behind it. And even then, the points aren't even that much. Like his Imperial Knight's like 440 points, and it's not like the Lion is 325, I think, 315 points. Like he's just like 100 points off of a freaking Imperial Knight. And they could both probably be one shot by like a Lehman Russ, but then you get Nagash, and he's 880 points, and just he is a literal god,
Yeah, yeah, cause it's like I feel like the games do share some models right with each other, and generally the models that share with AOS, they're good, and like for example, I have a Be'lakor. He's good in 40k. He's also very good in AOS.
Yeah, he's 115 more points too, just to show like how good he is. Yeah, because 40k he's 325 points. AOS he's 440 points. And he definitely represents that points quite well.
And just his abilities are just very good as well.
Yeah, or like your Scarbrand in AOS. Yeah. Oh my god! What did he have? A 3d6 charge?
Yeah, it was insane. You can run across the board with a charge roll.
Yeah, yeah, like I just remember just being there, like, oh, Scarbrand's like way over there, I'm good. Then you just rolled a charge, walked up, slaughtered the entire unit, and then still surged into another combat with, and I was like, no!
On the same turn,
Yeah, the same turn.
Yeah, his inescapable wrath. Add 1 to the number of dice rolled when making charge rolls for this unit to a maximum of 3 dice. Just awesome.
Yeah, like I love the abilities for so many of these units. Like in with my dinosaurs, my lizard folk, Lord Croak, he's like 440 points. He's like 18 wounds, and like he can cast like 3 spells a turn, and they're powerful spells. But one of the things about him is, let me pull his ability up here real quick. I love his ability. So he has 18 wounds, and yeah, it's his end of any turn, dead for innumerable ages. This unit must use this ability each turn while it is damaged. Roll 3d6 and add the number of damage points this unit has to the roll. On a 20 plus, this unit's destroyed. Otherwise, heal him fully.
That's very good.
Yeah, I was like, that's so cool. Like, yes, he could die pretty early on, but you have to roll pretty high for it. Like, if you 3d6, you can just roll 3 ones. You're good. He's not dying. Like, you have to outright kill him in like 1 turn. You have to do a lot of damage to him in 1 turn and then hope that I roll pretty shittily. Otherwise, he's staying on the board. And oh my god, his other ability, he can cast spells through other wizards. Like, if I have a skink wizard, I can then target him and then cast a spell through him with that one's line of sight.
That's very good.
Yes, it's so cool. I love that.
And like when you see like a character or something, when you see their health in AOS, if you got like something with like above 12 health, like like 12 health is a good amount of health. It's like, it's not like 40k where it's like, oh, I have a vehicle with 12 health, but like it gets like destroyed super easily.
Mm-hmm.
Like the health is the way that the health is works, and also how you count up is kind of weird, but
Yeah, it's definitely useful though. With a bigger units, because like most people in 40k, I noticed they tend to count up for bigger units anyways. So having that streamline's pretty nice. Or like how you have a damage pool, instead of just taking the damage, you actually pool it and then do it from there.
And how it spills too.
Yeah, I say spilling damage. That's it's fun because it's the worst feeling when you do just have an attack that does so much damage, but then you kill 1 grot. It's like I did 20. I did 18 damage, and now your 1 Space Marine is dead. Moving on. No, in AOS that whole unit's gone, which adds to strategy because like the Gargants, you can run them in a 1-man squad or a 3-man squad. Running them in a 3-man squad has advantages, but it also has a lot of disadvantages because damage spills. Because if you have 3 Gargants separated, only one of them is going to die. If you have them all in one and you do enough damage, you'd wipe the whole squad. So another thing is with the it's a lot more streamlined. Like for instance, when you go to attack in 40k, you roll your attacks, and then you roll the hit, and then you roll a wound, and then your opponent and then your wound roll is then matched to your opponent's toughness, and then you have to roll based on that, and then they roll their save roll, and then you finally get to damage. AOS, you go attacks, hit, wound, and then you go to damage after the save, of course. So you pretty much skip the whole strength and toughness thing. You just roll your wound roll, and it's just like, say, like Lord Croak, he has a 3+ to hit, 3+ to wound. Period. Nothing else is going to affect that. And it just makes the game a lot quicker in that sense because you get rid of the toughness characteristic. Because that really adds a lot of like that extra layer of time consumption that makes the game slower as opposed to AOS that just speeds it up just like that.
Yeah, that's just going back to the casualness to it,
Yeah, most definitely. Oh, I also really like the way CP is handled.
Oh yeah.
Because you begin the game with on the first round you get 5 CP, and then you have to use it or lose it by the time like that round is over. And then like from then on you get like 4 CP, which also brings up another point is it was kind of weird getting into it at first, but I like how it's done now, is the regiments. Regiments are basically, you have your like leader unit, and then they can then take so many of like infantry or monsters depending on who they are, and it's like instead of rolling a dice to judge who goes first in a game, you don't roll, sorry. Instead of rolling a dice to see who goes first in the game, it depends on who has more regiments. So if you make your thing more compact and you actually have to think about your list building, you don't just throw everything in and then just go about your merry way. You actually have to strategize and make your lists very particular, to kind of fit everything in so you have that chance to go first. Or you could even, honestly, you could do it the other way, and if you want to go second, you could just pump that thing full of regiments and be like, I'm going second. I don't care. I don't want to go first.
I'm going second, and I also have 100 models too. So.
Yeah. Now, I will say one thing is I did learn this, auxiliary units. They're not good to have. That is one thing you really don't want to have, because it will actually give your opponent an extra CP if you have more auxiliary units than they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I already knew about that.
That I didn't.
your brother actually told me about that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
That's something to keep in mind.
I didn't have auxiliary units in any of the games we played just because I figured it did something bad. I just didn't know what, and I didn't want to figure it out, I guess.
That's fair. I didn't run any. I don't think any of my armies have auxiliary units in it.
Yeah. Which, like, sometimes that does suck, don't get me wrong, because I want to, it's like, I want to run all of these units, but, like, sometimes I have to make sacrifices if I don't want to run 15 regiments, But it's not too bad. Once you kind of get used to it and kind of figure it out, it's pretty manageable, honestly.
Yeah, there's also a limit on how many regiments you can have too.
Yeah, I don't know what the limit is though. What is it, like 4?
You have your generals,
3?
and then you can have 3 after that, or 4. Just one of the two.
Gotcha.
So that's also a thing. Like, you're not gonna have like, for example, you're not gonna have like a Tau or like a Astra Militarum. That's a good one. You're not gonna have 300 models on the board. None of them with deep strike.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of limited to the total amount, because in each regiment you can only have a certain amount of units in each regiment as well.
Yeah, and I know like your general's regiment can have more units than your other ones, which is also kind of nice on the fact, like for instance, Nagash, he's 880 points.
Just pulled him up. My general's regiment with Nagash in it is 1,620 points.
Yeah, so it's like if you want to run
3,000 point army.
Yeah, like if you're running a 2,000 point army and you want to throw Nagash in there and then a couple of other guys, like you could probably just run one regiment. You're pretty much going to most likely go first, because most people that I've seen tend to run at least 2 regiments. So you're gonna go first, and it doesn't even feel like you have like less units because he's so many points, because he's so good, and the abilities and the fact that skeletons or zombies don't cost a lot. Like you still have a good sized army, and it doesn't feel like you're missing a lot. Like if I'm gonna throw a knight into my army in 40k, I feel like I'm just missing too much opportunity. Like I can't do that. I'm like, there's so many other things I could have thrown in there, and I'm just kind of screwing myself. But it doesn't feel like that in AOS.
Oh yeah. Actually, I just looked at my AOS list. I do not run as many skeletons as I thought I did.
Really?
Yeah, I have 3 units.
Are they reinforced at all?
Nah, skeletons I don't think get reinforcements.
Really?
Nope.
How many units is in a skeleton? Are they 20-man squads?
10.
10, really? And you can't reinforce them?
Nope.
That's actually crazy.
Well, it's because one of their abilities is at the end of any turn, you can return D3 slain models.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's...
So it does even out.
Yeah, that makes sense, because otherwise you'll run a 20-man block that can constantly heal D3 models. That
would be insane.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I get it now.
But that's also like the Gloomspite gets and their little goblins. They have reinforcements. They can do something along the same way, bring their guys back too.
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely not as powerful as the skeletons, I'm sure. But
No, absolutely not.
now zombies, on the other hand, they can run reinforcements, and you can just have. I'm pretty sure they're like 20-man blobs. Like, oh my god, the zombie lists are crazy. They're the equivalent of God. Like they are a horde.
I hate how long the shooting lasts.
Oh my god, yeah, you're right. Because like AOS, like yeah, they're shooting, but like it's melee, man. Like so many, like yeah, melee's like that main thing. Like other than like spells and stuff, or like I said, some
Skaven.
yeah. Oh yeah, Skaven. I guess they have guns.
But like they don't have, they have guns, but it's still only limited to a certain amount of like a certain, character model or like a certain unit has them, and even then, it's like those units are like 1 to 3 models. Like you're only gonna have like 3 people shooting, and then like okay, cool, onto the charge phase, fight phase.
Yeah, or like I love like how you can do certain things with strategy because it's so melee focused. Like you put your people with the spears in front of your archers because then your archers can't get charged at, and it's like, I mean, you could do that in 40k, but like when everything can pretty much shoot you and you can just shoot right through models, they're not gonna be protected. They have to like be behind a wall then, and then at best you're just gonna get like -1 to their armor penetration, and it's just like I don't like that.
I also don't like how cover works in or in 40k.
I know cover is annoying.
And that sucks for me coming from a demon player who all their saves are super high anyways, or like guard.
Mm-hmm.
You have these super high saves that you're never gonna get.
Yeah, like cover's like irrelevant to you. Like unless you're fully blocking line of sight, like it's not doing a lot.
Irrelevant.
Yeah, because like, I got -1 AP. Well, you have an invul save because you normally save on like 6s anyways, so who cares? Like,
yeah, I have an invul of 6 up because my save is 7+. Cool. There's no way I can get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of those things. I don't like the way cover works in 40k. There's just too much shooting. Which isn't a problem. Obviously, it's sci-fi. There's guns. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
But that's why I prefer fantasy, because that's another thing that makes the game quicker, more casual.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna be sweaty because you're not gonna try to get that like little like I just have one guy barely peeking you and then like I can shoot.
The whole unit. Yeah, well, there's like so much with like line of sight arguments. It's like, oh, can I see them? Can I not? Is this giving me cover? Blah blah blah. Like you have so many less rule like discussion in AOS because of that. Because like like I said, yes, there's shooting, yes, there's spells. You're going to have some stuff about line of sight, but it's so much less. Like my first game as God, I played against Necrons, and like my god wasn't super complicated. Like yeah, it was my first game, but I still kind of knew the rules pretty well because the god wasn't too complicated with how the rules work. It took me 10 hours because our shooting phases were so freaking long. Like yes, there was a couple of hours just because we were at home and we were bullshitting, but like that's still a really long time for a game for like my normal games. Like when we played our first game of AOS, I don't think we went over 3 hours for our first game of AOS.
And we were doing a 1.5k.
Yeah.
Like almost 2k.
Yeah.
Points.
Yeah, and we had never played it before. We didn't know the like rules, like and like if anything was like Spearhead prepared us for it. Like that just also shows how well Spearhead prepared us for the full game as well.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like when I play 40k, I feel like people like to play against me because I just play demons. I don't shoot. I just go in.
Yeah.
I move. I can't hit anything because all my shooting, the little shooting that I do have, is like, okay, you have maybe two or three attacks that can shoot 36 inches or further, and then the rest are 12 or less. So I'm just like, cool. First turn, move. All right, I'm done. Your turn.
Yeah. Exactly. Like when I played my god against your demons, it was so sad because it was just you couldn't do anything.
You shredded me because I couldn't get close.
Yeah, I'm just like, all right, it's time for Lehman Russ. Like,
yeah, it's just like the way that the train's also set up in 40k based off of the cards and stuff, and the game modes, and that there's like only a limited amount of terrain.
Yeah, which I mean, that also depends because like some of the terrains like that, like the last game I played, I really liked the terrain set that we had because it really did block a lot of line of sight.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
But like I said, it definitely just depends for sure. But I do think a lot of melee gets a shorter end of the stick when it comes to that. Like my Space Wolves, I play my Space Wolves as melee, so I'm always having to charge in. And it's like in the tournament, I play against Tau. I got shredded, man. I got shredded because of that. Like I was rolling like crap. Tau could see around like every corner, and they have like there's like indirect fire, and like and I got absolutely slaughtered just trying to make it across the board.
It is a slog fest if you try to play melee in 40k.
Yeah. Which is why, like, during the tournament, the whole time, we had 3 people playing World Eaters. I was like, please pair me up with a World Eaters player because I just want my Space Wolves to go head-to-head melee with one of these World Eater players. I didn't get paired up with the World Eaters. I got paired up with the Tau that slotted me. Then I got paired up with Tyranids, which their shooting was also really good, and they had really good melee, and I got shredded with that. And then I played Black Templars, and that guy was actually playing quite a bit of melee, so we honestly just had fun. It was the last game of the day. We went in there. At one point, we looked at our game, and we were on none of the objectives, and we were like, huh, weird. Anyways, back to melee. It's just, I love melee, man. It's so much fun.
Yeah. Because, like, here's also the thing. You play AOS, and you're like, oh, I want to play melee only. Perfectly viable.
Yeah, in like every army.
And it's like, if you're like, I want to play ranged only, not viable at all.
No, like, I think the closest thing you're gonna get to like having a ranged army in AOS is, if I were to guess, probably the High Elves. I'm pretty sure they have pretty...
Maybe you could probably do it with Skaven if you
Skaven, Cities of Sigmar, they have like a lot of guns and stuff, so they could definitely do a lot more. Oh,
like cannons and like stuff like that.
Caradon Overlords, they're big with shooting, because they're all the high tech dwarf gun maker steampunk kind of deal, so they're pretty big with shooting. So it's not like shooting doesn't exist. It's just truly like melee is that primary focus when it comes to AOS because it's not sci-fi.
And then that speeds up turns, going all the way back. It's just nice.
Like I said, don't get me wrong. I love shooting. I love guns. Sometimes I'm just like, I just want to roll 60 dice and with my Space Marines and my bolters and just miss all of it, but but it's fun.
Yeah, it's like, I'm gonna shoot at you with all these las guns from my guard and then hit 2 of them out of the 60 I rolled.
Or like how we were talking about how they have so many different weapon profiles. Like, let me roll my las gun. Okay, now let me roll my last pistol. Then let me roll my grenade launcher, and then let me roll my my leader has a plasma pistol. And it's just like,
there's a melta gun. There's a melta in here too.
Yeah, and it's like at this point, like I've just had to learn to skip some of that. Like if I have like a las pistol, and I'm shooting at a freaking dreadnought or a tank or something, I'm not even gonna roll it at that point. Like I'm just like, it's just going to add unnecessary time, and 99% of the time it's going to do nothing. Like I just skip it sometimes, especially in a tournament. I'm just skipping this. It doesn't matter. I do not care. I'm just going to do nothing. Like.
Where I feel like in AOS, it's like even the little range you have, generally it's not weak.
Oh no, yeah. Like my Cruel Boys, I love shooting with my arrows and my bows, and they have they do have 2 different weapon profiles built into the one weapon, which is nice too. I really like that. Like they have different types of ammo, so it's like I don't have to switch weapons or have a different weapon on the model like how we were talking about. It's just they have 2 different weapon profiles, like how a lot of melee has like your strike or sweep in 40k or AOS. It's like that, but for my bows, and I don't know, it's in they are solid. They've done some crazy damage to some units. All right, well, I think that's enough of us scoobering over AOS and kind of having some people might might say these are bad takes. Maybe they are. I don't care. I love my dinosaurs and lizard folk, but yeah, we're gonna wrap it up there. Hope you enjoyed. I'm thinking for next week for the next episode for y'all when we if you better stick around. We're going to go.
Back.
You better come back, boy. We're going to go through all of the factions, and we're actually going to talk about each of our favorite models for each of the AOS factions. Because I just want to gush.
So many good ones.
There's so many good ones. I just want to gush over all the models. Honestly,
it's gonna be hard to choose just one. You know.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like honestly, if it's too good, we're gonna have to have an honorary mention for some of these factions because they are amazing.
For sure.
All right, well, I hope y'all enjoyed. This was Tales from the Realms. If you have any suggestions or anything, let us know in the comments. And then, if you hate AOS and hate us, go check out the podcast I also edit for, Bolters and Banter. They do 40K stuff. That might be more up your line. But honestly, if you made it to the end, you probably like AOS, so this is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Come back.
Come back.
Come back.
Yes. Bye.
Now.
Now.
Bye.